Let's talk about our weird, complicated relationship with money. Today, we're going to peel back the layers on why we spend the way we do, and then we're going to map out a super clear path to getting back in the driver's seat. You know that feeling, right? That little retail therapy purchase after a rough day. It feels good for a reason. But what if I told you that little spark of happiness isn't just a coincidence? What if it's the result of some seriously powerful psychological, social, and even biological forces all working together? To really get a handle on this, we've got to start with the science. We need to look at the powerful chemical reactions that are happening inside our own heads. It all kicks off right in the brain. Okay, so the second you even start thinking about buying something new, your brain is already getting busy. Just the anticipation, browsing online, imagining it, that releases a little hit of dopamine. That's the same hormone tied to reward and pleasure. Then if you're shopping with friends, you get a dose of serotonin, which is all about social connection. And finally, when you actually make the purchase, you can get a rush of endorphins, giving you that satisfying shopper's high. But, it's not just about the brain chemicals. When your life feels totally out of control, shopping gives you this tangible feeling of power. You're the one making the choices, deciding what happens. You're visualizing a better future for yourself with that new thing. It's a really potent escape, even if it's just for a moment. So that's the pull from the inside. But that's only half the story. Now let's flip it and look at the push from the outside, the pressure to spend not for ourselves, but for how other people see us. And this brings us to a really fascinating idea in economics. It's called a Veblen good. It's basically a luxury item where the super high price tag is exactly what makes it so appealing. We're talking designer bags, fancy cars, you got the idea. And this is where the logic just gets turned on its head. For most things, right, price goes up, we buy less of it, simple. But for Veblen goods, it's the total opposite. The price isn't a bug, it's a feature. The sheer expense of it becomes the status symbol. It's a way of broadcasting, hey, I can afford this. This quote from economist Juliet B. Shore just nails it. It perfectly sums up this trap she calls competitive consumerism. It's that constant pressure to keep up with the Joneses, a race that pushes us to spend not for what makes us happy, but just to keep our spot in the social food chain. Now, this whole competitive consumerism thing doesn't just happen in a bubble. Oh no. It is fueled by an entire financial system that is engineered to make spending easier and to hide how much things actually cost. Think about things like buy now, pay later, or those easy monthly payments. They are designed to do one thing and one thing only: mask the full price. A phone that costs over $1,000, that feels like a huge decision, but that same exact phone for just $50 a month, suddenly that feels totally doable. It tricks our brain into focusing on the tiny payment today, not the mountain of debt tomorrow. And this is that illusion in action. Our brain is laser focused on that small, manageable monthly payment. Meanwhile, the actual, massive total cost, which is often even bigger thanks to interest, gets mentally shoved way into the background. It's a psychological magic trick that gets us to spend more than we should. And believe it or not, the system is getting even smarter. You see stores rolling out these digital price tags, right? Well, that's not just for convenience. It opens the door to something called dynamic pricing. The price of something could literally change based on demand, the weather, or even data they've collected on you. And that quote, that wasn't a joke. That is the potential future of how we shop. So we've got our brains craving for a feel-good hit, we've got society's pressure to look successful, and we've got a system designed to hide the cost. What is the real-world fallout when all of these things collide? This isn't a made-up number. This is from an actual receipt. One family's trip to the store for what they said were just essentials. $700. That's a staggering number, and for a lot of us, it feels painfully real. It's that sinking feeling when the total on the screen is way, way more than you ever expected. And this is not just a one-off thing. You hear the same story from people all over. Just like this person shared, even when you're trying to buy just the bare minimum, the costs are absolutely crushing. It's this constant grinding pressure that just feels impossible to keep up with. Now, let's zoom out. The collective impact is just mind-blowing. In 2023, credit card debt in the US shot past $1 trillion for the first time ever. That's not just a statistic. That number represents the immense weight of millions of people's financial struggles, of sleepless nights and arguments over bills. The crucial takeaway here is that all this pressure has a breaking point. With debt piling up and costs just soaring, way too many households are being pushed right over the edge. Last year, bankruptcy filings jumped by 23%. That is a loud and clear sign of some serious, widespread financial pain. Okay, I know the picture we've just painted is intense and maybe a little overwhelming, but understanding these forces is the absolute first step to taking your power back. So how do we push back? How do we regain control? Let's walk through a simple but really disciplined framework. It's called the 1/3 financial rule. It's a super straightforward strategy that's all about balance and clarity. The core idea is simple. You take your net income, that's the money you have after taxes, and you split it evenly into 3 crucial buckets. And here's where the magic is. It's in the balance. 1/3 of your money goes to aggressively paying down the debt from your past. 1/3 goes to building security for your future through savings. And the final third is for your living expenses right now, in the present. No single area gets ignored. The benefits of doing it this way are pretty obvious. It forces you to attack your debt head-on, build up an emergency fund, and live within your means because you've put a cap on your spending. It takes all these complex money decisions and makes them simple, which directly fights back against the stuff that causes financial trouble in the first place. Now, you might have heard of the 50-30-20 rule, which splits your money into needs, wants, and savings. And that's a great rule. But the 1/3 rule is a much more disciplined and aggressive strategy, especially if you're trying to dig out of some serious debt. By making debt repayment a full third of your budget, it puts you on the fast track to becoming debt-free. So when you're up against your own brain chemistry, against societal pressure, and against a system that's built for you to spend, taking back control starts with this one simple but really powerful question you have to ask yourself before every purchase. Are you spending your money, your time, and your energy to build a genuinely better, more secure life? Or are you just spending it to project a better image? The answer to that question can literally change everything.